He kōna I purangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Have we forgotten about the plight of diesel drivers? Can someone work most of their lives in Australia and then come back to New Zealand to claim the pension? Why are there hurdles to getting money out of KiwiSaver at 65? That's some of what we're talking about on this week's episode of No Stupid Questions. I'm Susan Edmonds, I'm RNZ's money correspondent. I'm joined by Justin Gregory.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Let's get into it. Now, the first question is from Kevin, who says he enjoys your article, Susan, but...
There's always a but.
There's always a but. But he wants you to stop talking about petrol prices and instead start talking about fuel prices.
That's probably a fair point.
He says many people have cars that run on diesel, and most trucks and trains are running on it too.
Yeah, a lot of chat has been about petrol prices because it's what affects a lot of us. But Kevin is correct. Diesel prices potentially have more effect on lots of other sectors.
Transporting food, that kind of thing? What are we talking about?
Yeah, and if you think the increase in 91 or 95 is bad, spare a thought for those buying diesel. Their prices have gone up a lot faster in the last month. I talked to the AA's Terry Collins about this, a man who must be getting sick of talking to the media. I asked him whether you'd normally expect diesel vehicles to be cheaper to run.
It's a bit difficult. It's like comparing different apples with different apples. What happens with petrol is you have fuel excise duty and diesel has road user charges. Petrol, the vehicles are becoming more efficient, and also electric vehicles, so they're collecting less of it, which is why the government announced that they were going to move all vehicles over in the future to road user charges. So supposedly then it really just come down to the price of fuel. But ultimately then you'll find that diesel is always more expensive than petrol because you get less diesel out of a barrel of oil than you do petrol. And why that is because petrol's got a lighter specific gravity. It's a lighter fuel. It's not a simple answer because you factor in your maintenance costs and all the other things involved with your different fuels. There's a whole lot of pros and cons than just saying is one better than the other. The key thing, I think, why that person said you're not paying enough attention to diesel is because diesel, the increases have been about 50% more than what petrol has been. And that's because of the big international cracking spreads on them. Everybody's after diesel, everybody's after jet fuel. We're not at record high petrol prices, but I think we're already at record high diesel prices. Because of all the fuel excise duty on petrol, we're used to paying more for petrol when diesel's a more expensive fuel. Now it is more expensive.
It's tough times for everyone, basically.
Yeah, and the difference between petrol and diesel at the pump has narrowed a lot lately, even though the excise tax is in there for the petrol. So then they have road user charges to pay on top for diesel vehicles, so it's quite tough. On Monday, diesel was up more than 80% over 28 days, compared to just under 40% for 91.
I've just bought a hybrid, so I'm, feeling very smug about myself and life. But I went to top up the petrol tank the other day. Petrol, see, petrol there, Kevin. I needed to fill it 2/3 up, and it cost the same amount as filling the tank used to be in my old car, my old ice engine car. That was a bit of an eye-opener.
Yeah, it's pretty dramatic. But now you can drive around and you can watch your hybrid saying it's in EV mode.
Smugly.
Yes, very.
Okay, now we've got a question from Donna, who says she was born in 1965 and moved to Australia when she was 22, and now she wants to retire back to New Zealand and wants to know whether she has missed the residency boat. She points out that Australia's pension is means tested, and she wants to avoid that because ours isn't.
Yes, I had to take a pause when I read this question. The answer is yes, you can do this. New Zealand has a social security agreement with Australia, which means you can use time spent living there to meet the residency requirements of the New Zealand pension. If you're relying on that, though, you can't claim until you're 67 rather than the 65 it would normally be. And if you do qualify for any part of the Australian pension, you'll need to apply for that, and it will reduce what you can get in New Zealand super.
Why'd you pause though, Susan? Is it the whole sort of fairness thing?
Yeah, it does seem a bit unfair though, doesn't it? I've been turning this over in my head. Is it fair that someone can pay tax in one country for most of their working life and then come back to New Zealand when it's time to start drawing down the pension?
Well, presumably one or two people are doing the same thing in Australia.
Yes, but they would be subject to means testing there. So it's not quite the same.
True. What's that quote though? It's an entitlement and she's entitled to it?
Yeah, I had a quick chat to Shamabil Yaqub, who's Simplicity's chief economist, about this.
This is where policy can be difficult because can you have rules that think of every eventuality or every edge case? And I suspect that's something that we will have to think about carefully, because there's an element of fairness. Like if you're an immigrant, you don't get access to it if you haven't worked for a certain period of time, or if you've been away for a certain period of time, you can't have it. So like, why is it that this reciprocity works? And is it balanced, right? I think that's the question you're asking. And I don't know the answer to it. Is it fair that you worked somewhere else, you pay taxes over there, but you get our super? But that's also the point of our super, right? That it is universal.
So, universality. I know you recently had some backlash from people for questioning whether people earning more than $200,000 a year should get New Zealand super.
Yes, it's something that a lot of people feel very strongly about. At any time there's a suggestion of any potential change, I get a lot of backlash. But maybe that's all I should say about that.
Mike time now. Mike wants to know, do church-owned retirement homes enjoy tax exemptions? Ooh, good question, Mike.
Yeah, this is an interesting issue. Charities in New Zealand generally don't pay tax on income, even if they're, enormous sanitarium. You probably won't be surprised that I asked friend of the show, Robin Walker, about this. She said it might indeed be possible for a church to own a retirement home and to also benefit from the charity income tax exemption. It sounds like there's more to this story, but hopefully that at least answers the immediate question.
But if you've got other questions around this topic, Kevin, or anybody else, or Mike, or whatever else, please send them in. questions@rnz.co.nz. All right, it's time for the rapid fire round. 2 questions about KiwiSaver for people who were over 65. Elise Marie wanted clarification on whether she can join KiwiSaver. She's 70 and still working.
Yes, she can. The rules have changed, so people over 65 can join the scheme. They just can't necessarily get employer contributions, and they won't get government contributions.
And both Naomi and our very own Grant Walker here, they've got questions about access to KiwiSaver at that age.
I recently turned 65 and wanted to get my KiwiSaver money out, but found out it was a very drawn-out process involving my bank, my KiwiSaver provider and Inland Revenue, and that the process could take anything up to 10 working days or more. What's going on here? It's my money after all.
Grant shouldn't be allowed to retire. But aside from that, KiwiSaver providers tell me that yes, the first time you make a withdrawal, you'll have to go and have your identity documents and that sort of thing verified by a justice of the peace. So that withdrawal can then take a little while. They say because they need to be certain they're giving the right money to the right person, it's important that they tick those boxes, which I guess makes sense. But if you're urgently needing that money, you might be disappointed. In terms of multiple withdrawals, which Naomi raised, I'm told that generally you shouldn't have to go through that process again, and it should be a lot faster in future, as long as your bank account hasn't changed. Westpac, for example, says you can set up regular withdrawals of anything from $100 a month. That might make it easier.
All right, pretty relatable question, this one, for some people. Barry wants to know what people can do if they are asset rich but cash poor. Yeah, some of that's relatable. He says he has some money he was saving for a house deposit, but the market got away from him. Again, relatable. He asks, should we continue to scrimp and save in the remote chance the lotto numbers come up, or invest in silver and gold, KiwiSaver, or just blow the savings on a lengthy cruise?
The cruise is a tempting option, right?
Nah, not at all. Slow-moving vomit comets. One bug gets around, the entire ship goes down, and the sewage system takes a hell of a beating.
What was that program? The Poo Cruise on Netflix?
The Poo Cruise.
That put me off forever.
So this is not financial advice there, Barry, but don't go on a cruise.
I have heard good things, though, apart from that terrible program. I asked Liz Coe of Enrich Retirement for help on this one. She wanted to know whether home ownership was totally out of the question. Could there be a cheaper part of the country that you could buy in? Because having a freehold house in retirement does make a big difference. Liz says if it's definitely not something that's in your future, you'll need to use your money to cover your future living costs. The problem with having a bit but not a lot is that you might be ruled out of things like the accommodation supplement. We've talked in the past about how that threshold is very low and hasn't been adjusted for a long time, I think since the 90s. So Liz says New Zealand superannuation is probably not going to be enough for most people to cover rent or mortgage payments. She recommends you keep enough cash on hand to cover whatever you might need for an emergency fund and for essential living costs over the next 2 to 5 years. Then invest the rest for the medium and long term in a diversified portfolio or managed fund. She says probably not precious metals, but says a financial advisor can help choose the best investment options for you. So get some advice.
Susan, you spent some time this week looking into benefit rates. What's that all about then?
Yes, so from April 1, which is like the universal day for changing the rules in New Zealand, a whole lot of stuff changes, including what people get in the benefit. It's lifting 3.1%, which is in line with the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, which sounds fine, but some people are worried that with all the pressure on fuel prices and food prices at the moment, it could be really tough on some households.
Yeah, 3.1% rise. It's not going to go very far, is it? But look, surely lots of people are going to be getting similar rises, though.
That's true. I guess with people on the benefit, they are probably under more pressure to start with in some cases. And lower income people tend to spend more of their money on essentials, which are hard to cut back on. And we've also seen the price of essentials go up a lot lately. So it's tough going.
Yeah, like mints, eh?
Yes, boring stuff like mints up 20% in a year. It definitely takes up a lot of a household's budget.
Okay, last week in the last episode, we asked where in the country has the most uptake of solar power. And the answer is...
Central Otago.
Yeah, kind of not surprised by that. I don't know why. Long sunshine days in the summertime? Yeah, fair enough.
Lots of money to spend on putting solar panels on your roof, maybe. It was followed by Tasman and the Bay of Islands, which also makes sense.
Yeah, also makes sense. Sunny places.
That's right. This week we're asking about carless days. When did New Zealand attempt this? Did it work? Will we be doing it again? It's literally before my time, so I can't even delve into my memories for this.
It's not before my time. I do have some memories of this. My Auntie Helen, rest in peace, lovely woman that she was, did what everyone else did and just bought a cheap second-hand car. So she'd drive one car on the days that she was allowed, and the days she wasn't allowed, she'd drive the other car. She had this great little 1950s thing. Can't remember the model, but it was cute, and she called it the Little Ripper.
Very nice. Maybe we can get another one.
Yeah, Little Ripper time.
Send your answers as well as any questions you have to questions@rnz.co.nz. Bye for now.
No Stupid Questions with Susan Edmonds was written and presented by Susan Edmonds. Justin Gregory is the producer. The engineer is William Saunders. Thanks to Kevin, Donna, Mike, Elise Marie, Barry and Grant, that's me, for their questions, and Terry Collins, Shemabil Jacob, Robin Walker and Liz Coe for their answers. Follow and listen to No Stupid Questions with Susan Edmonds on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or any podcast app so you don't miss an episode. Stay safe, everyone.